Thanks for that. It's great to be here. If you listen to that bio, you'd think I'd like being on boards. It's nothing like that at all. We put Queensland right at the centre of things. Firstly, I'd like to respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners of the land we're meeting today and pay my respect to elders past, present and emerging. Over 80% of all interactions with the Queensland Government are through the department. And one of the real issues for me is there's 5 million people in Queensland and everybody thinks they can do a better job than me. Because the propensity for things to go wrong is legion. Anyway, that's the background to what we're talking today. QTRIP, which is unique about the states and the territories in Australia. It's a 4-year program, 2-year fixed and 2-year aspirational. So it gives our colleagues in the construction industry at least some certainty on what we're doing. And what we do is we do a presentation on QTRIP every year, which is led by the Minister. We do one here at BCEC, which is just that way. And then we do one out in the regions. And this year was in Mackay. We've also got something called the State Planning Programme, which is about 68 million and has got lots of projects in it. So that's what we are going to build. So for the past 5 or 6 years while I've been here now, I've just made sure that we got all the information out to the industry so they can actually make better decisions. As far as jobs are concerned, that creates about 19,200 direct jobs. So it is really important to the state. It's important to the people in this room as to what we're doing with it. Now, the other context that I wanted to touch is megatrends, the Internet of Things, automation, and new technologies. We're investing a lot of time and effort into 2 areas. One is mobility as a service, because in the future I think the department will be a broker of transport services, because you will not care. If you took today, you will not care how, whether it's QR or a bus company, you'll not care about the ownership. All you want to do is get from A to B via C or D. And if you look at these things, which seem to rule our lives now, and if you look at GM's Bond, Casino Royale, which is just over 10 years ago, uses a scabby Nokia. He hasn't even got one of these. So these are only 10 years old. And every time you get a new one, it's out of date. So we're putting a lot of time into mobility as a service, connecting autonomous vehicles, or sometimes they're called driverless cars. We're going to have the biggest single test area in Australia, in Ipswich. But it's not about the biggest test area, colleagues. It's about, collaborating. And the chairman said this morning it's all about collaborating and sharing things. So we're trying to embrace as much as we can on that. And the big thing is data. We put 324 data sets on the Queensland portal every single year. It's really rich data, but as a DG, I don't have a lot of information. It's all about converting that data to information. So moving on to the next slide, that's why lean construction BIM is really important to us in the department, and we want to propel BIM and lean forward. So it's a combination of operational research and practical development design, and I'm an engineer. So I like to see practical solutions that I can implement in the real world. So I think what you're doing in this conference and lean construction programs, I think is absolutely the right thing to do. I used to be a manufacturer a long time ago. I used to build double-deck, single-deck buses and airport crash tenders. And we used a thing called Six Sigma, which is, and I think I am a Six Sigma black belt, which really means I can be a practitioner and use it to best effect. I used it to take time out of vehicles, because if you look at, and the figures used to be double deck at 1,000 hours in, single deck at about 800 hours in to actually construct them. So if you took 1 hour out, you actually went straight to the bottom line. So I was really interested in that. So I'm really interested in what lean can do for us in the future. We've also got building information modelling, which you'll hear a bit more about what the department's doing later on. We're using it, and that's Ipswich Motorway, Rockley, Darra. So we're using it on that project, but we're using it on the M1-M3 merge. The M1-M3 going south and coming north from the Gold Coast has got about 164,000 vehicles a day on it. And we actually managed that in real time for the Commonwealth Games, and if organisers are interested, I can do a complete presentation on what we did to actually manage in real time the network for that. And I've also got a presentation on connecting autonomous vehicles and mass, if you're interested in that as well, because it's all about sharing what we're doing. We use BIM very successfully on the new generation rolling stock maintenance depot at Wilkaraka, and we saved about 2.5% of the price. But the key thing, and it's a matter for you in the room, is building the model. We took a long time to build the model before we actually stuck a spade in the ground. And we saved money on things like conflicts between rainwater drainage and services, which we would never have found until you actually start digging holes in the ground. So we're really pushing ahead on BIM. It is difficult to actually apply directly on that sort of project that you can see there, but we are doing it. Now we've got the State Infrastructure Plan. You've also got below that the State Infrastructure Fund, and Q-TRIP and our planning fits below that. And we're going to be progressively implementing BIM across state infrastructure. So it's not just, I'll make these slides available so you don't have to take pictures, because either you'll get wobbly or you'll have forgotten what I've said. And the other thing I can probably do to our organisers, I'll give you the stick, and it's got all my speaking notes as well, so you get the speaking notes. So it'll save you sort of writing loads of things down. So basically, you see there, faster and cheaper construction, because this is state infrastructure plan, so it's not just the road network or the building stuff that I'm doing, it's also hospitals, it's schools and everything the state's involved in. But faster and cheaper construction, improved asset availability. Importantly for us going forward, lower running costs, greater predictability and fewer surprises. I hate surprises. In my world, surprises actually usually are bad. Very few good surprises I get. And I'm going to brief my minister in about 40 minutes about what's coming at the cabinet soon, just to make sure he doesn't get any surprises. Other initiatives, that's me pointing off into the distance. That is actually on the site of Gold Coast Light Rail 2. That was implemented in 18 months, and that was implemented at about 60 million per kilometre. If you look at what's happening in Sydney, that'll be at 200 million per kilometre. And the reason for that is the Sydney project, all of the underground services, the PUPs, they're never ever where you think they're going to be. So you dig a hole in the road, and suddenly there's all sorts of things there you didn't expect. Now in Liverpool, when I was there, or Manchester, you could get unexploded ordnance, Viking longboats, dead kings. No, seriously. But so it's really important for BIM and for lean construction, you know, what's happening under the ground. So we're actually doing a lot on collaborative contracting. Now we're also introducing something called EME2, which is high density bitumen. Why we're doing that? You need 25% less. It's French design, but it means 25% less. You've got 25% greenhouse gases. We're using crumb rubber, so we're grinding up lots of tyres and putting that on the surface as well, and modified binders. It's all about collaboration. It's all about minimising risk. So cost overruns and project delays are actually no good for anyone. So we've also established the National Assets Centre of Excellence, NAECO, and we're doing a lot of good work in there, but can only do it in collaboration with the industry. We're also using drones a lot now. So we've got drones with LiDAR and radar, so we're using them to do bridge inspections and structural inspections, which I think goes down really well. The other thing that we are doing as well, we're doing the simple things. We've got a little four-wheel drive battery-powered vehicle with a GoPro on the top, which is linked to a laptop, and we send it down culverts so we can see the condition of the culvert. Because we used to send children down the culvert. No, we didn't. That's a joke, and it's to get you to think about things, because the little battery-powered vehicle was like $1,000. You know, the GoPro on the top was about $800, and the connection was like not very much money. So what you need to do is just make sure that you start thinking outside the box as well. And we're using Road Tech, which is our business within a business that does a lot of this work to prove things out before we actually use them in the real world, if you like. So why are they important to us? Well, as a Director General, I've got a very, very large risk appetite. I will take risks where we can actually work collaboratively. And for the past 6 years while I've been here, we've moved away from what used to be a zero-sum game where we'd be plus 10, you'd be minus 10. All that would happen in the future, you'd be plus 100, we'd be minus 100. That's gone now. It's all about collaboration. It's all about working in partnership. And lean construction and BIM, to me, can actually reduce waste. And, Wilco Rack is a really good example of that because we built that ahead of time and under budget. And that's the sort of thing that my minister and ministers like to see. But to us, and it'll come from the speakers you'll see today, shared learnings. Very important to share everything. Because in our world, you can put an RTI in a request for information. You can get all the information anywhere, so we're just going to publish it. Collaboration and relationship building within our industry, but embedding the innovation as well. These things are really important because if we don't do it, Queensland will be the worse off, and then Australia will be the worse off. That's one of the reasons that I'm an NTC commissioner. I'm on all these other boards. It's all about the economics of Australia. To me. So I'm going to rush off and we'll talk to the minister, but I said to the organisers, and I'll take any questions you've got. Apart from that man there is a Newcastle supporter, and I already hate him because I'm a Sunderland supporter. And this is soccer for our Australian colleagues, and it's usually Sunderland 0, by the way. Anyway, thanks very much. There's a question there. You've got 5 minutes, so we'll carry as many in as we can.
Hi Neil, do you plan on running any trial projects with Lean? You've mentioned BIM, but trialling Lean tools and processes on any projects?
Yes, we are, and we're looking for one now. So when we get a Lean project and BIM, we're going to clash it together and then run a Lean project on it. And the object there is to make sure as well we learn from it. So if we're going to fail, we need to fail quickly. Learn from it and then move on. So yeah, we'll be, let's see how the word, subsidising that, but we'll be making sure that nobody's worse off by doing it. And if we don't do it, nobody else is going to do it unless you're absolutely sure that all the risks have gone.
Hi Neil, Daniel's my name. I'm just always interested to hear, what do you find your biggest challenges at the moment for what you're going through for software, people, process and that side as well?
No, the biggest single challenge is political. Only 2 more prime ministers until Christmas. We're going to have to sort it out because, at least in this state, we've now got a 3-year fixed term. It's up on 31 October 2020. Then whoever gets the administration there's in for 4 years, so we've got some stability here. But the stability or the instability we've got at a national level as well as a state level is really restricting the people in this room to get on. So what are we doing about it? We've got Q-Trip, we've got the state planning programme, we've got events like this where you can at least see and touch a Director General, because these jobs are really huge, as you'll see from the dog video. I'm sort of running a $9.4 billion business. These jobs are like drinking water out of a fire hose, right? So this is really important. So biggest single problem is not the staff. Biggest single problem is probably people going offshore. By offshore, I mean New South Wales and Victoria, because they've got more capital than we've got, but I see them overheating. And I see people coming back to this great state because of the lifestyle we've got to offer. So I think, to answer your question directly, probably good data analysts is difficult to find. And the other thing is, you'll see this, and there's some in the room, millennials, right? I've got a 22-year-old boy going on 10, and a 20-year-old girl going on 40. And what they do, they interview you. When they come for a job, they interview you. It's not the case anymore where you interviewed them. They ask about the environmental strategy that you've got, they ask about the culture, and then they might come and join you. But we're going to have difficulties with this because they'll only stay for a few years unless they're interested. So if you take, and we're trying to make the department the employer of choice if we can. So we've got 24 grads this year. We have 3,500 applicants. So people do want to come and work for us because we're doing some really cool stuff. The problem I've got is actually pay, because we can't pay as much as the other Eastern Seaboard states, but we can offer training, we can offer a great place to work and doing good things. So it's all about the future state of this place. But I just think that mobility as a service is going to be the thing in connecting autonomous vehicles, because every death on our roads is a tragedy. Today we're +2 from the same time last year. But each death's about $1.6 million, as well as the ongoing tragedy. But that's not the full story. We have 6,500 people every year hospitalised, which just sucks all this information up. Now, connecting autonomous vehicles are probably one of the most exciting things I've seen in 3 decades. Because you put that in, because 80% of accidents on the road are driver error. And we're getting stupid things like people not wearing seatbelts. We had 2 fatalities at the weekend, people just not wearing seatbelts, which is daft. Sorry, I'm ranting on there.
We've time for one more question.
Yeah, one more.
Hi, it's Peter here. Just a quick question. With the collaborative view that you're taking on the future projects, are you looking at changing your traditional forms of contract as well?
We're trying everything on the contracting side, and last week we had were you there, Terry? Yeah, we had a forum where we're trying to have our contracting suite as transparent as we can, right? So everybody knows where we are, but we will take a lot of the risks, because I've found in my experience, and I used to be a contractor a while ago, is that you put all the risks to the private sector, all they do is price it up. So this state will take on as much of the risks as it's right to do, that we can manage. So things like early contractor involvement, we're trying that. Just straight construction contracts, we've tried that. So we've got a suite, and it's horses for courses. It depends on what the job is. So we'll keep on, and what I'm trying to do through Austroads is make sure that, whether you're contracting here, New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, Western Australia, the territories, or whatever, you've got the same standards. So we're pushing Austroads standards. We're using ARB to make sure that the research is right. And I've tried to get our colleagues in New South Wales and Victoria to use the same contracting suite as us. But what we're trying to do really is knock the risk out and knock the surprises out. So we'll look at anything that works. And by and large, I think we're doing all right, by and large. But I do see New South Wales, our colleagues there, overheating. They've got to spend $1 billion a month, I think last time I looked, just to keep up with the program that they've got. And Victoria's doing the same sort of thing. So people say, we're the poor cousins. We're not. 21.7 billion is not to be sniffed at. So we're trying to be smart where we put it. But this state is so bloody big. From here to Cairns, for example, is 1,000 miles or 1,600 kilometres, and you're only halfway up the state. From here to the Isa, Mount Isa, is 1,000 miles again, and you're just on the outer edge. So we've got lots of long, skinny roads, where Victoria's got lots of short, fat roads. But what we've got is you've got an increasing trajectory of more and more car ownership. So what we're trying to do is get people to think smarter. And that's why CAVI, Connecting Autonomous Vehicles, and that's why mobility as a service is so important to me moving forward, because I can't build my way out of it. I don't think anybody can. So we were looking for smarter ways to do it. And that's why BIM, and that's why what you're doing on lean construction is so important to me, and that's why I'm here, I think. All right. My name is Neil Skills. Hope you enjoyed that.